you program for the ideal experience. Like, yes, a 60-minute wait time feels very human, but that's like the customer support experience that I hate. Why would you make a robot like the human that you hate?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the HighLevel Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, I am psyched to be joined by Matt Deseno. I think a lot of people are psyched. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Stoked to be on it.
So Matt is part of our dev partner community, longtime HighLevel user. I would consider you to be a power user. And today we're talking about Google Dialogflow. So to give a little context, we are like in bot AI mode at HighLevel lately. 2 weeks ago, I did a spotlight session on creating little basic bots with triggers. Last week, we had a chat with Grove Marketing and what is it called? Oh, shoot, something AI, I forget. Capri, that's it. About like taking bot building with triggers to the extreme, which was really cool. And today we're going even further with Dialogflow. So Matt, first of all, what is Dialogflow?
Yeah, Dialogflow is the natural language processing engine for Google. It's basically like, it's the bot. It's the brain behind conversational bots, AI, artificial intelligence, the ability to like receive incoming information, process it, maybe even do something with it, and then, reply.
And so this is really cool, right? Like, how long has it been out? I think it's awesome that Google just like gave it to everybody. It's just totally open, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like everything, if you're a power user, they charge you for it. But yeah, Google services are like marginal pennies. And it was an acquisition. It was, I think it was API AI. And so in the last 4 years, I think, and they've been trying to integrate more and more. And honestly, this is kind of the theme of, I think what's people feel stirring in the waters is because there are a number of companies, like AI is making billion-dollar companies right now. Like anywhere where you can increase efficiency, where you can remove human error, where you can increase capacity. Obviously that moves the needle a significant amount for companies that like can actually do stuff with it. But I think because of the buzz and just the interest in venture money going into AI, Google is starting to really try and integrate it with more and more of what they provide to just like expand the ecosystem.
Yeah. And so for us as marketers, it's amazing, right? Because most of our clients that we work with are businesses that get a lot of the same questions over and over, or do a lot of the same processes over and over, right? So I feel like once we see what you've built, and once HighLevel opens up the bridge between that to make it even easier for you, you'll be able to just go to be like, whatever. What niche do you work in, Matt? One or a bunch?
We've got a few, but so like adoption law was one of our big ones.
Interesting.
Female only yoga studios. And so underground pet fence installers. So we're big proponents that the more you can focus, it's like I say all the time, but impact is a function of focus and force. The more laser focused you can be, the less energy it takes to get the same result. And so we definitely do that on the agency side of things.
I love that. Those are some interesting niches. Underground fence company. I love it. But yeah, so like female yoga studio, great one, right? Like I'm sure every female yoga studio gets asked like the same 10 questions all the time. And it's like, you build the bot and then you roll it over for every client. It's like, hey, I bet you get asked these questions all the time, right? It's like, yeah, well, one of our services, we have this bot that'll just answer all those questions for you and then fall back to you when they want to talk to like something about something that is outside of these things.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, this is for us personally, it actually evolved. I mean, there's two sides to it. So one, and I think it's for a lot of folks when we get into high levels, we geek out on the tech. Really, all you need to do is sell. Like the people who like get in here and kind of like capitalize and make the most is communicating beyond just the parts and the pieces and the process, but just the payoff. And so for them, all that they care about is it's hands-off, ideal, optimized scenario for their business. Like everybody, like if you could afford it, they would just have like a super friendly answering service that knows everything, about them, right? It's like the best customer customer support experience, or kind of customer experience you could imagine. And so that's one side, is communicating to prospects that we're using AI. And the cool thing about this is it's actually machine learning. So it's trainable. Like there is rudimentary AI, which is still super cool. Like the idea, like anybody who's getting in this world, like you have Zapier, like all of a sudden you can automate things like basic processes, just triggers in HighLevel. Like from the start, we've had AI. Like we came in January of 2019. And that was the first thing is I was like, oh, we can build a chat bot for SMS right away. That was like the first thing we did and started leveraging that to sell to clients because I mean, ManyChat wasn't doing it. Like nobody else was doing it. And this is, so that's one aspect is selling. The other aspect is leverage. So our arrangements, we do rev shares. And so we don't tell them, we don't always say we've got robot slaves that do our bidding. Like what we tell them is you don't have to worry about it. All you're gonna have to do is like take care of like a warm or hot lead who just shows up in your place and is ready to buy. Like that's what we're providing to them. It's just that when you get to a certain scale, when you're doing hundreds of leads per week per client, you either hire an army of VAs or you go with something like this. And so so both sides, it kind of wins. Leverage for the agency, a hot selling point for the client. And it's like, it's the ideal experience because I mean, it's hard to be talking about this and not talk about others who've like tried to do this. And especially like, and maybe not in HighLevel trying to come out with like AI and they know, cause it sells really well. But I'll tell you, unless someone is actually working with something like this, like there's others, you've got Amazon's and, versus Google or whatever it's going to be.
IBM Watson, whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. You have, it's a Wizard of Oz show. Like they're saying it's AI, but it's triggers, which you can do in HighLevel right now with humans who get to it in 10 minutes, 2 hours. Like
bots don't wait 20 minutes to reply to somebody.
And we're going to see it right now. Like when you program for the ideal experience. Like, yes, a 60-minute wait time feels very human, but that's like the customer support experience that I hate. Why would you make a robot like the human that you hate? You make robots like the humans that you like, the ones where it's like, oh, I call up and chase the answers right away or whatever it is. And so, yes, real AI or like a real conversational booking solution doesn't delay. Like, oh, we're talking like seconds, and we'll see that here, like, because it literally does the act of checking availability, connecting your calendar, putting the event on your calendar. Like, yeah, okay, like, but we're not talking minutes. There's no significant delay.
All right, cool. So let's show us this. I'm dying to see this. So why don't you fire up your screen share and let's actually see what we're talking about here. So.
Okay. And I think I just share my desktop. Okay. Do we see it?
Yeah.
So we should be seeing two things. And I don't know, is my phone blocked or is that just Zoom?
Yeah, we see it on the left. It looks like your phone's on the left and then
look,
HighLevel.
Hey, right. Look at that. HighLevel commissions coming through. Oh my gosh, calm it down, phone, calm it down. Okay. Okay, so I've just got this demo account. I've got Jason Derulo, our lead. So there's usually, sorry guys, I like have D&D on, I swear, but who knows what's going to pop up on my phone. It's a combination of things, right? So like the ideal flow, and we kind of see, and that's even like what we're looking at is like, if you were going to create, I'm just going to call it because you got a name, it's out there in the marketplace. You're going to create an automated lead and nurture system, right? Some robot that might be called Alan or Steve or whatever you want to call it. There's two parts at play. One is like we think of it as like the knack. There's the persistence, right? Like there's usually some sort of like direct response. So they come in and they're in a campaign. So I'm just going to add a campaign. We've got lots, but I'm going to call it a nag. I mean, this is going to start it off. So this could be like for us and how we run this is we run this like as long as you want to go. And it usually starts off something like this. If it's a reactivation or they just opted in, it's like, hey, first name, this is, account owner. We're doing some promotion for some reason.
Right.
Have some availability. Are you interested? Right. It's usually like, we're just trying to get that response. Now, so what we do is, hey, Joey, that's nice too. You put that in there and your phone suggests it's Joey. The point of interruption is usually something like, sure, right? Yes. Cool.
Right. And like high level positive intent, if you reply back like, sure, like we could pick that up and you could trigger something.
You could. So what we do is we go beyond that. We skip. I mean, you can do that. Exactly. Basic triggers, you can totally do that. We just say, we go right beyond. So as soon as a campaign is interrupted by them responding, it is now sent over to Dialogflow. And there's like a part of me that wants to show you all the Dialogflow, like to just see exactly how this is working. But you'll see. I mean, I guess the key thing here is, and I'll pop over to.
So not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but you do that through a webhook out. You trigger a webhook.
That's exactly right. So right now, our connection is webhook app. That's the only way to send information out of HighLevel. I mean, you guys are just like
we're gonna work on that. We're gonna help you out with that.
We just got access yesterday to start fetching information out of HighLevel, and so it's coming soon. But right now, you have to webhook it out. And I might say, like, how's next Wednesday? Oh, darn email notifications. Okay, so I replied back. I said, how's next Wednesday? And and right here, like, and there's a variety of responses. They're saying, like, do you have a time that works best? And I could say, email notifications. I love it.
You're a busy guy.
I'm not a busy guy. I'm just on everybody's email list. And so that's what happens, 11 a.m. And here's the great thing. Like, and I know I'm going slow to try and make, like, cause I could flash through this and you can program this to say whatever you want. Right now,
okay.
Like that was it. If I can calm down phone. Okay. I'm just going to block that over. How do I pull this over? So if I come over to my Google Calendar now, and I look over at like next Tuesday.
Wednesday, we said.
Oh, did you say Wednesday? Okay. So right here, and actually I should have, this would have been a great way to demo, and I didn't even turn that on. Can you see it? All I see is I blocked myself with this right here. Free intro session with Jason Derulo next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That was just created in Dialogflow. So Dialogflow literally creates the event, creates a session, can add reminders. And so I'm going to kind of show you exactly what we're doing here. So this is we do it with Zapier. So, I mean, I'm kind of even telling you more than whatever. I don't even care. So we built a connection in Zapier to manage this chat process and relay the information back into HighLevel. The cool thing about this is it's super versatile. So imagine, and the reason why, like, we could have just like bridged the gap and said, okay, right off the bat, it just goes straight to HighLevel. But let's imagine there's like, this is the cool thing with like extra Zapier, when you want to do stuff outside of HighLevel. So we have certain, and this is like my rudimentary example of this, and I have to move around the order. But let's say you wanted to do a path based on the response from the bot, because sometimes you want to send it back to, you want to send it just straight in HighLevel, let them book themselves. But let's say you instead, when they come back with a response, certain responses, maybe you want yourself to interrupt it, right? Like, so I can have Dialogflow say, no great response. Like, so Dialogflow works by confidence intervals. And so it's looking at it and like actually generating, okay, 87%, I mean, it's decimals, but like there's an 87% confidence. Well, this is what you were looking for. This is what like you programmed for. We have in,
so you can say if confidence falls below a certain score,
I could do it based on scores. I could do it. I wanted to just pull my example of, this is a bad test example because it's not the real one. So here I'll actually, I can't get out of here now. Let's go back and pull, well, this is like a super old test data that's going in there, but I could set conditions based on the response. So just imagine you can pull the actual response that Dialogflow creates. So you could also have rules. Here's the rule. If it's below 50% confidence, right? Or if it's something out of the map. Maybe then what you want to do is, so let's say it contains, let's go like with the value thing, because that's a good example here with what we want to do. And for some reason on my screen, I can't see all of these. Okay, here we go. Here's our confidence detection. Did you see that was 84% was what it was showing there?
Right.
So point, and it's 0.843, right? If I say it's less than, and we saw that was 0.843, I'm going to say less than 0.5. Then what I want to do is go down this path. And so this path is where instead of responding, even though it could respond fast, I'm just going to create a notification to me. Or I could run it back in HighLevel, but do something different. I'm going to now tag them and say, hey, you got a response that needs attention and something complicated happened, right? Or, okay, so that's it. That's our condition. And now I know I'm getting into paths. Hopefully Zapier is not brand new to everyone, but like you kind of see the vision here.
When are we going to get more than 3 paths is what I want to know.
I know, exactly. More than, but so this is why we built it this way. And this is how we create really robust, truly automated booking. Like the booking flow, that's fine. That's straightforward. We saw it, like they go, it books.
And it made the booking in HighLevel too, or just on your Google Calendar?
Well, that's a great question, Chase. So right now, until HighLevel allows everybody to book straight onto the calendar of HighLevel, like nobody can book straight on the calendar of HighLevel outside of HighLevel. So yesterday we finally got access to do that. So like I was pushing, I literally was up until like 3 a.m. last night because I was like, man,
trying to make it happen.
If I could show the connection straight into HighLevel, like this would freaking kill. But here's the reality. So that is coming, but there's kind of 2 sides to it. So right now, in case people don't know, we're just going to geek out. It requires the new calendar. So what we needed was a new calendar location. We had gotten it for some clients, but not for any of us to play around with. And so literally I was on with like Sean yesterday afternoon, and he was like, oh, let me just click in one calendar. So like we got to play around with it yesterday, but things like that, you can't do, nobody can do until HighLevel releases the beta calendar to everyone, right?
Gotcha.
So our workaround is the 2-way sync, right? And so I can take my calendar over there, put on 2-way sync in HighLevel. And so now what's really happening is Dialogflow is creating the event, HighLevel is syncing to the calendar, and so they're pulling the event into HighLevel. So that's how we're able to.
So right now you do the roundabout, and then as soon as you can, it'll go the other way.
As soon as we can, we're going to kick out Google Calendar. So right now, what we do is we look at Google Calendar and we go direct to Google Calendar. We can check availability. We can check, whatever parameters we want to set on there. We book it on there, and then we sync it back into HighLevel.
Gotcha.
And so
now, how robust have you made your Dialogflow bots? Like that person was like, yeah, sure, and then they threw out a day. Can they just start asking all sorts of random questions? I mean, have you?
They can do super questions. So maybe I should have like just pulled a client account, but I was like, I'm doing a bad job of filtering even numbers. So here's what I can do. So this was like a little test bot that I spun up for this, just a schedule appointment bot. You can see in here. So all this had was like, and actually the cool thing is we can import these. So we kind of have like baselines for just, kind of just getting scheduled, but you can add, so let's get out of this possibility and go back to intents. And I'm not going to give you the entire lesson on intents, but you can train phrases. And so it's kind of like if you find yourself in HighLevel and you're making like a million triggers because you're like, why can't I just comma things, right? I just want to be like location and
address and
so, I mean, here's what you actually got to do, because you got to name these exactly. So the cool thing is, but yes, you're like, I want location, I want address, and then you just go through and you're defining them like as the exact same way. Great, cool. And so you're running synonyms and whatever you want, but you can put in as many phrases. And so what we end up doing, especially when we're like running the first time for a client, is we go back through and audit, and all of those like 50% confidence, the ones that got flagged, what happens is we put them back in and train better responses. Right. And so it kind of tells us this is how robust.
So what does that look like? It's like, hey, this response came in and we scored it 50%. And you go look at it and you're like, oh, you tell it like that response was relative to location. And then the next time around, it's confident.
Yeah, correct. So you can have intents based on think of these kind of like categories of responses. And there's training. There's also this whole aspect of fulfillment, which I'm not going to dig into. And that's fine. That's the technical side of things. That's the thing that like we have, and we just say, here, go copy and paste, and it works. Right. But if you really wanted to, you can go in there and program some JavaScript and, you know, go nuts with whatever you want to do. But the like 80-20 rule of what you're accomplishing here is having a robust learning bot that you could use this. You can copy and paste this for any client, right? So it's kind of in the same way that you snapshot triggers, but now you don't have a million triggers. And you can get beyond like just having, you know, one item align with another item. And so here, like this is.
How often do you go back and do the trainings? Like weekly, monthly?
So we, it's kind of as needed. So right now, I don't even do it anymore. So like our flow is we have project managers who oversee client accounts. And usually for us, once we hit about 1,000 leads, there's not a ton of refining that goes on. Like you just like imagine 1,000 scenarios booking through. And so that's about like for us, depends on the client, but let's say in the first 1 or 2 months, you've got like, you're totally good. And the cool thing is as you train more, you can, so the other thing you can do is set up kind of like hub agents. So this brain, you can pull from other locations. So we have kind of like shared brain, and that's kind of, I think what's happening here. And the movement is into like, that's what we're doing for folks is just saying, if you want the booking, like Kickstart, what you're asking about, like, here's the booking, all your days, regular, it makes the appointment, it does that. Here's your kind of like frame. Here's your base. Here's your starting point. And then if you want to come in and do stuff like this, address and other particular things, you absolutely can, right? The other way that we do it is we use statuses in our rules. So the triggers that we're actually running, and I really don't want this to get too complicated. The point of this is we're bundling all this together and like just gonna show you spot out. Like there's no way in the spotlight I'm gonna be able to like detail everything I'm talking through, but we use an intelligent process to know when the bot should interrupt and when maybe you just want to use a trigger, right? Because it's really the marriage between the two. The cool thing that something like Dialogflow can do that HighLevel can't do is connect. Well, and maybe that's HighLevel can't do, yet. But one, take information out of HighLevel, do other things with it, right? And so that's what we're talking about, like over here with our Zap. If we want to have more confidence, or if it's just like if you're using different things. So we've had clients who don't use HighLevel's calendar, especially before when it wasn't beta, right? They're doing more sophisticated round robin things, or whatever it is. And you literally you can't accomplish, or you couldn't accomplish it with what it was. Now you have a solution because you can do the exact same process we're doing here, but maybe tie in and like you could just do other things in Zapier. You have unlimited flexibility. And this is why like Zapier is a great connector and medium, and why we decided to build it in this way was so that we had the most amount of flexibility in solutions that we could build. And so if someone's out there and they're thinking like, oh, I want to build, like I said, like I want to build the Allen for whatever my niche is, and I want to go out there and resell it to all of the silly other agencies who don't know that HighLevel exists, and I could literally just build my own like Allen on top of HighLevel. You could do that and integrate with all the random things that like other niches use that HighLevel doesn't integrate with, right? So this like usually it's like the I can't think of any of those, but like job whatever, and like all those kind of random apps that have a Zap, and you were previously like trying to do this, like you were either having a webhook information out or in, or kind of do it, and now you can intelligently tie it to the event that you want it to be tied to anyways. So if you're going to create some things, you get to piggyback on the process that you're already using.
So let me ask you a question. The responses that, like when you said, do you have a time that works best? And they came back and said a time and that booked. If they had said a time that wasn't available, the response that comes back, is that literally something you wrote end to finish, or is Google actually building the sentences intelligently?
So, yeah, you give it parameters. So if I go back into intents, this was our address. We'll keep it in there.
Like the wording of the response, word by word, is that something you at some point?
We literally build it. So you it's like it takes like these phrases and tense, and it can feed it back into it, and you can define whatever you want to define. And actually, this is like what you're talking about is into the fulfillment area. Showing this on camera, you can literally see all the goodies. We'll just skim right through it. So it's in here, and this is what we show you, like literally however you want to create your kind of like rejection or your approval, or if there's a conflict or whatever that language is, you do determine that, and it's in combination with the actual intents. So like even like this address, where you get to say, like we determine like it's a mandatory parameter, and then you define a prompt. So if it's a mandatory parameter, and you can have a variety of prompts, like, so that's what happened there, is date and time are mandatory parameters, and you can say.
So if they weren't available, it would have said something like, sorry, that's booked, but I have 11 a.m. or 3 p.m.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So you can say, yes, correct. So your rejection goes back and says, suggest something else. And actually, I think ours says like, do you want to go earlier or later? And then it kind of looks for earlier or looks for later. But so all of the mystery behind bots is that, yes, it's decided at the end of the day. The things that like Google knows, and actually even like we intentionally kind of sophisticate, like you kind of saw the example that Sean did the other day. Google, when it outputs day and time, it does it in like a kind of like its default processing of time is like military time, and its default processing of day is like the full thing, right? It's like month, day, whatever year. And so we create rules where it's like, if they say tomorrow, I want to kick back and say, you're good for tomorrow at 3 p.m. instead of saying, hey, do you have any times tomorrow? And then it says, you're good for August 28th or whatever it is. So
1400.
Yeah, 1400. So if I was like, okay, so a literal prompt, if his address is like, you would literally type in our address is, and so the important thing here is you're doing it per location. So if I have an actual client, there are ways to pass through information. That's like what we do from HighLevel. And so ultimately you could make this a little bit more versatile.
So you could throw a custom variable in there and it gets injected with dynamically.
So you can define a different entity, and then it fetches from like a high level. And so address, that maybe this is a bad example, but let's say, and ideally, I think there's going to be more and more direct integration with HighLevel with like custom values and like core values. But right now, right, let's say I wasn't doing that, and I'm building this for a specific client. I'm literally typing in Main Street, right? And I'm giving it that prompt. So it's similar in the sense of like what you're doing with triggers, where there is that aspect of AI where it's determining, or it's like you've given it a response. Now, if you want it to assemble, you can actually fetch information that it's given you. So this is I'm going to close this. That's fine. That's a fine response. So address, I created this actually as a parameter. That would be a bad parameter, right? So let's change this around, and let's add one like I want to say like method of transport, like walking, driving. What do you call that? Transport? We'll just call it transport.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Your background is what? Computer science? Do you have a computer science degree or something like that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you need that sort of background to be able to go in here and make all this happen?
No. I mean, the 80% of what we're doing is that booking flow. And that's like, I'm telling you, the parameters are set, like it will literally look on their calendar, look at availability, book it, and confirm it. What you're doing, like, yes, there are some technical things going on here. Like, yes, you can build incredibly complex, like artificial intelligence rules, and you can integrate with a number of really cool, complex things. I am probably doing a bad job of making it like opening up the complexity of what could be. We are trying to like condense this down into as simple as possible. And the reality is, the reason why other folks that are like even into the AI space are just going with basically a bunch of triggers and then humans that interact with it is because the actual building of this, even that like that core thing, like even like right now I could give you just copy and paste what we just did. You're comfortable in Zapier. You see, oh, confidence interval. You don't have to like overthink that. And you can say like, okay, it's going to give you back 84%, 65%. And you can say, maybe you don't care. You're like, no matter what, just do it. I don't care. Just let the bot go. This is the issue with anybody who like does programming is we get all excited about the possibility of what could be and get, get into the weeds of it. But no, this is intentionally.
But so like, all right, so here's what I heard from that. To build this whole thing from scratch, you probably need to have a background in 100%. Programming and all that. But what you're saying, so it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you've built something and packaged it up in a way that you could pass it on to the average high-level user who could plug it in and use it for their clients.
100%. So I'll be honest.
And is that what you're going to do? Are you going to do like a licensing model where it's like you can license our bots, or
no. So I'm just giving you complete control because there's lots of other people that are doing licensing. And so when honestly, Sean texted me, like I've been talking to Sean it's probably been 6 or 8 months. And he's known we've been doing this and we geek out about it. It's fun, cool stuff we're doing. And then he texts me and he's like, I want you to do, like, this, like you reached out to me to like make this happen. Here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to lock this down and then charge people a monthly fee to have access to it, right? I wanted to lock it down, charge people a monthly fee. I thought it was like you're talking about the licensing. We are busy doing like real agency, like regular agency work. Like we were not like, we didn't have this like great grand plan to like go and resell. And we're not like, it's not like our niche completely died. And so we needed to find new people to, fat and happy to sell stuff to. And so the reality is I can't lock it down. Like if I give you this, like you have it, there's no way I can take it back from you or stop you from using it. And so, I could delay and say, you know what, Sean, give me like 4 months. We'll lock it down so you can't, steal our IP. And then I can, get it on subscription model and let you in and make it, whatever. It's a little bit softer of an introduction. But there was such a feeling, and I totally agree with it. There's such a feeling of like, if there's an agency owner out there and they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want to do. Or like the conversation of booking flow, I could sell so much easier. And even to know, like there are like we're saying, there's people out there who are going after agencies like, hey, agencies have got money. My niche is dead. Let me just go aggressively after them. And so I kind of thought I'm just going to come up with a stupid offer. And the reality is and it's not the point of the spotlight, but we have the big thing we've been doing for agencies. Other agencies, I'll tell you. So one of our niches, it's coronavirus, right? One of our niches totally dried up and died. Apparently judges can't meet when coronavirus is happening. And so I had 3 people and they're like, I don't want to fire you. We didn't know about PPP. And they're like, we're already doing all of this support for like our users on there. Like we could easily scale this and provide it for other agency owners. And so the main thing we do is white label support for high-level agency users. So like literally doing support.
Yeah.
We're doing support on behalf of your clients. And
now, have you put this on a URL somewhere? Because since we last spoke, I've recommended a bunch of people, but I don't know where to send them other than mattdeseno.com. And that's like some other offer on it.
Well, no, it's been there. So it's literally just called hlprotools.com. And so hlprotools.com is where we're doing for $200 a month. We literally run your customer support for your agency. And we don't care. We have people on there with hundreds of users and we do it all. So the kind of goal there is for an agency owner, if you can spend 0 hours per week in high-level support, life feels pretty grand. So that's happening there. Because it's just a one-off. And so we kind of put together like really it's that Zap. Here's literally our Zap. I can't charge you for it. Like, you just get it. It works. We're showing you, here's how you connect it across. Here's like literally what, if you want to, like, here's the copy and paste thing you put in there. And then here's how you go in there and add stuff. If you want to add in, one for this or that or whatever it is, and you can kind of make your own bot, make it as robust as you want. I
think, Matt, a word to the wise. It should be a monthly service, because even if you gave me all that, I would break it somehow, right? I'd be like, Matt, I need you to show me how to do this. And I'd be like, I think even though you're giving it, I think you're still going to need to be providing monthly support on it.
Okay. Well, and that's great. So then what I would say is then come into HL Pro Tools, because if you're there and you're part of it, then that's fine. We're already supporting you anyways. And so we'll keep on supporting it. So we were just going to do a lifetime price for the, like, all that stuff, sort of like the how-to, the Zap, take it all. I still think I'm going to do it, but here's what I'll just tell you. Just go to HL Pro Tools, and I'm not going to give you the direct link because Chase is making me rethink that. So,
I mean, by all means, but I think I would fall down with it. I'm sure trying to set it up, I would want, I would need help.
Well, and that's part of even what we've been doing with HL Pro Tools, is taking really complex things and making them super easy and simple to implement, right? HighLevel, this is what I say all the time, is HighLevel is great at innovation. We kind of saw a vacuum in documentation. And so we filled that gap. If you can take really complex, ever-changing things and present it in an easy to follow, kind of like copy, paste, one foot in front of the other method, I think people find a way. People like to learn a little bit, right? If you got in here, here, you just upload, and then you can add in little things as you want. But right off the bat, you're like, oh, cool. It literally books appointments on a calendar. That's cool.
So let me ask the question that I should have asked a long time ago. And you mentioned this. When I get excited, we geek out about what's possible. But we didn't talk about why. Like, have you been running this long enough to see enough results where you're like, this works, and it works this much better than the old way?
Yeah. So, and this is the interesting thing is it can feel like a marginal increase, but that's why this is what I'd say. The why here is, if you're considering paying someone else to do this for you, like, this is the robot that will do this for you. Like, it honestly is a set it and forget it. So you're saying you'll fall over yourself, but there's not a ton of maintenance. Like, and especially if we're talking like to get to the point where, you could set up an alert system so it tells you when it might be wrong. Like, and then you literally only look if there's an issue, right? And it runs. It keeps going. It does what it's supposed to do. You don't have to think through it. It just feels so hands off. There's no marginal. That's why, I didn't want to have.
So let me ask you something. So the scenario we've been talking about is someone gets added to a campaign, right? In the traditional sense of things.
Yeah.
Have you built one that's starts from basically web chat? So it's who knows what the context of this initial entry is going to be, but we're going to go from there and be prepared for the most frequently asked scenarios.
No, for sure. So we do not. You totally can. That's a great scenario. So for us, I think I told you, we make money when deals happen. We're not there we're not being customer support for our clients. We're being a sales engine for our clients. We're customer support for agency owners. That's great. And that's exactly right. We're, running that way. It's possible. You can imagine it exactly in here. I could show you, type in all the things, define them how you want. And honestly, this is the other aspect of it, in the same way that you're seeing people build things on top of this and build an ecosystem out. I'm telling you, I mean, it's true. The same people, I'm not going to say people, Alan is selling to agency owners. It also sells directly to business owners, right? So the same thing that's attractive to business owner or to agency owners now is attractive to business owners. So build exactly that. If you're in a niche where you know your niche super well, that's a great idea. And I'm sure that would be a value add for them. And they'd probably pay an extra $100 a month for, completely automated AI customer service. And it's not terribly complicated. I'll tell you, the complicated part is connecting them. And we've done that. This part, sure, it's different, but you've learned HighLevel. Coming into HighLevel was different. Learning triggers was different. Learning webhooks was different. This is no more complex. At this stage of creating rules, is actually easier than triggers, right? Because it's like, you just type in phrases that you want, and it could be long sentences.
Is what you have bundled up that people could use non-industry specific? Because it's basically you do that on the front side in the campaign, and basically as soon as you tell us positive intent has happened, then it's just a matter of day and time?
Correct. And it's either suggesting it to them or getting it from them. So, and that's what we've seen. So if people are trying to book appointments, like that's what it feels like. If you're trying to book appointments, I like kind of just pull back the curtain on like, this is the best. And there's some wisdom in like those, like an Alan, kind of like a booking bot engine, in the sense of you have a nag. You have a continuous campaign that basically keeps on reminding them that you're around, it's friendly, it's positive, but that's the thing that goes out there and seeks them. And then when they respond, that's when you got to win. And so you were asking like, what turns the needle? So we see, like, we honestly have gotten, I know Sean says 50% with like triggers, like we've gotten like 60%. And I think it's just because if you build enough triggers, like you can get to like the 60% place. And if you've got a good enough offer, so like there's that side of it, good offer, good triggers, you get 60%. This is kind of what pushes it to 70%, because you will see, and you can ask anybody out there, anybody who's, bought into something like an Allen. And if they audited their system, they're like, oh, dang it, this person said they wanted to like come in on tomorrow. And then like 3 hours later, we were like, oh yeah, you're good, right? So it's like, it's that delay just loses those low hanging fruit. Where you saw with this system, it's just like, you're good, come on in.
Okay, so let me paraphrase my question, because I think this will help people. I'm a marketer. I work with dentists. Dr. Bob, he's my favorite example that I use every day. I have a campaign for Dr. Bob where people can claim a free teeth whitening if they book a cleaning. So they claim my offer. I've got my nurture campaign teed up. It starts bugging them. Hey, you claimed our offer. Now you got to book. Don't forget to book. Are you ready to book? Are you ready to book? If they say yes, so like if I have a positive intent trigger saying if they're in my nurture campaign and they reply positively, that's when what you've got can take over. I can just say, boom, webhook. And then from there, this thing runs and takes care of the booking.
Correct.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep. So, and that's what we put together. So it is kind of like the lowest common denominator of what's possible. But it's because like, that's what moves the needle. The other stuff, you put it into a campaign, like that's where HighLevel kind of like already does that really well. Mm-hmm. And then, and this just gives you a little bit of like, I mean, just it expedites that. Because previously what were you doing? You were saying like, here's the link, go book yourself.
Right.
That's what you had to do. And so now you don't have to do that. You can literally let them book themselves. And so, as you were mentioning, and even, for folks listening, like right now, present day, we use a workaround to do that very, very soon. We're probably like within days, because we literally got it yesterday. Within days, we're just going to go straight to HighLevel. And we're basically only constrained by HighLevel's aggressiveness to open up their API. And so the more information that you give us, the more we're going to make it available and make it just super simple. So new parameters come out, I'm going to just be showing you like, okay, here you go over here. You type this word, add new parameter, add custom field, how you want to add those things. So things that aren't quite there right now, like, yes, I'm committed to that. And that's why this is built on the backs, if you will, of our other program, which is, we're saying like, if we help you get 0 hours per week in customer support for your people, this is going to help you spend 0 hours per week in nurture. And the marriage of that is like a really sweet agency SaaS business that you can just focus on selling. Because that's from the start. If this is doing anything, it's opening up capacity so you feel more fearless to sell and giving you an awesome buzzword that you can feel confident about. Like you actually are selling, and then you don't have to like play Wizard of Oz. It's Dialogflow. You tell like this is the premier AI engine that people know in Google, and it's super complicated because I'm sure plenty of people listening now are like, oh yeah, I knew Dialogflow. Like I hear people all the time, they're like, I just want Dialogflow. And it's that piece of connecting. Like they could get in here and they're probably, building bots and they're like, oh yeah, this part I got, but how do I make it talk with HighLevel? How do I make it do the things that I want it to do? And that's what we packaged together, made it super simple. And
so that's what I was going to reiterate next is, you've done the hard part, you're saying. And so you're saying that if I were an agency and I'm like, Matt, this sounds awesome, sign me up. You give me the hard part. And then you're saying, you think it would actually be easy enough for me to expand on this and like make it crazier? Like I said, like maybe it can answer questions about other things, not just booking or whatever.
Yeah. And that's part of how I knew this had to go. Cause right now I couldn't lock it down. And so I decided, you know what? And I'll be honest, like this is a sweet, awesome thing. But what we want is more people taking our no-brainer offer of customer support. Running your customer support, like, and so that's kind of like what we're trying, like, there's a lot of folks in HighLevel and I want to help them get to 10, 20 clients, because at that point, I'll tell you, like, even for me, like, it's a no-brainer positioning to have someone take over my customer support, like hop into client accounts and solve issues for $200 a month. And I get 500 clients in there. Like,
yeah, let me reiterate the value of that, because a lot of when I do onboardings, like I speak with hundreds of new agency owners a week, right? Not hundreds of new HighLevel members, agency owners, a lot of them new in their agency journey. And it's a real pleasure to see the light bulbs go off of like, wait a minute, I can resell this as SaaS. Like I now have a SaaS platform to sell, right? Like you're no longer just selling your services. Now you're selling a platform, and they get super excited on that. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Do that. It should be the easiest sale you make. Just like stack what they're currently using, all those prices. And then you're like, ours does it all and more for less value or less cost, like easy sale, right? And they're like, yes. And then they go, oh, but wait, I would have to support them for the SaaS. And I'm like, yes, you would. They're like, you won't talk to my customers about support, right? And I'm like, no, we won't. But there are members in our community that will do that for you. And so I think I want to help you get that word out, because I think way more people would go forward selling HighLevel as white labeled SaaS if they felt like confident that they could handle the questions that are going to come back to them once they start doing that.
Well, and that's why.
And I didn't know that you did this until last week when we spoke. That's why I'm like plugging this so hard, because like I didn't even know that you did that. So
yeah,
what's the URL again?
HLProTools.com.
Okay, cool.
And get in there. And so we'll just make it evident how, if you want this, it's our little Zappy chat is what we call it. So you can get the support, get that taken care of. If you want to get the Zappy chat, I got another no-brainer offer for you, but I'll just let you find that on the page. And reach out. Any questions or?
It looks like we have a couple of questions in Facebook if you're
Please.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't see.
So Zach said, how do we get the connection? So you just threw the URL out, right? Head over there. Hold on. We got more questions than I can see in one. Hold on. Let me open this up. I hate how Facebook does this. I have to open the video. And
I just want to clarify, because
mute it.
I think there was a different URL direct. So HL Pro Tools is like, getting that is not this. This is a one-time thing. And I will say the price, we're like, I was going to do it for 24, 48 hours, making it $497. So all of this, all the training, literally you saw our what is this called? Zapier, like the Zapier integration. All of that, so much less than $8,000, and you can go and run this yourself.
Okay. All right. So now I can see the questions. Franklin, oh yeah, I've been waiting for Dialogflow integration for so long. Awesome. Would there be a trigger possibility for if Dialogflow doesn't understand, so we could escalate to a human?
So that's what we're doing with, yeah. So, and
that's that confident rating. Is that the way you do that?
Yep, that's exactly right. So that's how, like, that's Dialogflow telling you I don't understand. And so my confidence in how much and the response that I've created is less confident.
And can you also obviously say, like, program it so it's like if somebody asks about an operator or real human or person, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff could also trigger out to a human.
100%. So in the same way, so all of these things, so how we build it is based on those responses, you do that filter in Zapier. So that's kind of like, that's been our, that's why we like Zapier. And that's why we like running it this way, because you can start to imagine the possibilities are endless. Like it really is, if you can imagine it with paths or filters or whatever you want to do. And you can also now start conversations in other ways. So imagine an email comes in of like for us, like you buy one of our upsells, the email comes in, triggers, it's not the webhook, it's the email. I've got their email address. And now I actually start the conversation of whatever I want it to be, right? And like introduce a conversation with the chatbot. So it just gives you a lot of flexibility. You can take to trigger from inside HighLevel based on response. That's the easy one for conversational booking, or from outside and just treating it more like a human conversation.
And are you saying you would run Dialogflow through email?
No, I'm not saying I run it through email, although hypothetically you could. So that's like what's happened. Like that, honestly, that's a possibility. What we are doing is taking an input, sending it into Dialogflow, letting it process, do whatever it's meant to do, and then bring it back. The one consideration, which I don't want to get too technical, is you're probably wondering, like, it has an identifier to keep a constant conversation, right? Because if I come back, and that's kind of a cool thing too, I can book the day, and then let's say the time isn't possible, and so it's like earlier, later, and then you're like, let me check. Like that's not a response. You didn't have the time, and we put on whatever, let me check or wait, and it's just like, no worries, I'm here, just let me know. This is why the ideal, like, you can't have a bot like this instigate, and so we still have those reminders keep on going up, but it remembers previous conversations, and so it keeps those within reason, like within that sequence. It's conversation, they call it like a session ID. There's a session ID so that it knows this chat is this person saying they just said the day, they said the time. Because if you have multiple leads firing at the same time, Dialogflow doesn't care. It can handle all of that, but it has the intelligence to know conversations.
Gotcha. And talk to us really quickly about what you know about how the integration that HighLevel is going to roll out for Dialogflow. How's that going to make this easier for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So honestly, and like, this is full insight. Like, I mean, to be fair to everyone, here's what happened is a few weeks ago, Sean wanted me to show HighLevel what we were doing so you guys could build your integration. So that's like, I'm being forthright. The versatility here is never going to stop. Like, there's a possibility, and that's like, I'm gonna be honest, like there's a possibility HighLevel comes out with like a Dialogflow click connect, and the surface of what we're doing, like that Zapier piece, is no longer necessary. It's no longer necessary.
Okay.
Is it still valuable? Sure. Because let's imagine you got a scenario like, I don't know if HighLevel's first edition of Turn On Dialogflow may not have conference interval or the ability to interrupt with a human, right? We do right now. You can run that right now. And so I don't know exactly how much HighLevel is going to come out with, but the one thing that is improving us is HighLevel is improving their API. And so the more information we can fetch allows us to send more, and to like have like the part that you're copying and pasting is where we're saying like, go and ask HighLevel for other things, which would be really cool is when you can bring more parameters into the conversation, right? So if you already know, let's say they no-showed, or let's say the previous no-show, and that's what like we do, is we have a status for no-show. Maybe the confirmation after they no-showed is like, hey, you're all set. Please don't know, like whatever you want to say. You can, like
show up this time.
Don't waste my time this time, right? It's like, hey, I'm a real person. This is the funny thing is you can make it say like, hey, I'm a real person, like this really, even though you're a robot, but like you can build in more of those conditional responses and intelligently, like this happens and you're not there.
So that's going back to the previous point though. Again, I really think even if we made the connection part easier, people are still going to not understand how to do this. I'm telling you. So think about that, Matt. I think you could really make a program around this. But you just made me think of something. We talked very early about, it's like two ways. You hire like an answering service, and I feel like that always falls down because you start asking questions and they don't know the ins and outs of the business. So they're always just defaulting to, well, let me schedule you with somebody. Let me schedule you. You know what I mean? Like, let me have someone call you back or whatever. And you're like, wait a minute, you don't even really work there, do you? And then the bot side, like I feel like for the past couple of years, it gets to a point where like, you're a bot. Like I want to talk to a human. Have you seen much of that? Like people figuring it out? Like when you go audit the conversations?
Yeah. No. So here's the thing. And I don't want to give it like, it's hard to like toot our own horn, but like good conversation. It's like copywriting like a human. So we use stuff like, I call it man, now I'm giving out all my secrets. manufactured mistakes. Like think through what are the cues that tell you undeniably it's a human being, and you would never, like no one would ever program for that, right? So like a misspelling and then an asterisk response right afterwards with the correct spelling. So
that's awesome.
we build in those kind of cues, and it's just enough of like that, like the psychology of like conversation, so that people believe it's a human being. Like even if it, like I won't say it's like it fails, but like where it becomes more rigid is that campaign, right? The nag, the thing that keeps on going after them until they book, where that campaign is not stop on response. That campaign is they have an appointment, and that's what pulls them out of the campaign. Those campaigns, you run the risk of them kind of being unelegant or less elegant, but because you're using a conversational booking flow, it's as responsive as possible. Usually where we've seen, like with the alternative providers, like that's where it happens. Like if you take two, like they said, hey, I'm good for tomorrow, and they say 2:00, right? They give you like, hey, I'm good tomorrow at 2 sounds good. And then if you take 30 minutes to reply, and it just so happens the schedule at like 15 minutes was texting you and saying like, hey, when are you going to come in? It's going to be like, we really want you. Like, are you interested?
Yeah.
That's when it feels like more fake. And so because we're so responsive when the intent is high, we don't see that. And then imagine if they stop responding or like happens, I mean, I don't know what the coincidence is, but it just for whatever reason, we haven't.
Yeah, I feel like I would turn on stop on response because the webhook already went out, right? Dialogflow is already running.
No, so that, I mean, that's part of the magic of it. And so that, like, that's the other aspect of what folks would be getting. It's like coming into this community is like, I'm telling you our strategy too. And so like, yes, there's the technical, but like, I'm telling you why we do what we do and have this marriage of like really like super fast, friendly, responsive when the intent is high, but then also like really friendly, but persistent. And it never stops until they actually book the appointment. And that's how we can get, 70+% booked in. Because
I'm sorry, I feel like I keep asking you questions that are like digging more into your secret bag of tricks. Okay. You can cut me off. All right.
Rising tides lift all ships.
I got a couple of more questions over here in Facebook. Somebody asked, what tools would be needed to build this from scratch if you wanted to do it from scratch? Like JavaScript, do you like?
Yeah, well, so like truly, so here's the thing. Current scenario, you can't do this just with HighLevel, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like we did this and it's literally not possible. I mean, like yesterday, like if you have the beta calendar, like now you can start doing it. If you're building it from scratch and you're trying to just integrate between HighLevel, like that's why HighLevel has to do that. You guys are sending information directly to Dialogflow that like doesn't, I still haven't showed you one piece of how it all kind of works together. But
I feel like we've asked too much of you already.
Okay.
So keep that to yourself. So, all right, next question. This is a good one. How is it integrated with existing snapshots? So the snapshot would have the webhook, right? And then you just have to go fill in the URL.
You add like 3 things to an existing snapshot, and it works fine. And
Super
so,
cool.
And that's what we wanted too, because you probably have that nag, right? And you maybe even already have a lot of triggers. So you're like, I don't want to throw out, but now it's like, you can run this, you can, and set it like even what you were saying, Chase, you can trigger it only after the positive intent. And like, that's what lets them know, hey, we're rocking and rolling. And so it's just whatever you were, it's really kind of interrupting the flow where a lot of times you were just saying like on positive intent, it says like, hey, here's my calendar. Now you get to say, book it with the chatbot.
Cool. And then, okay, somebody asked, is there a link for the $497 offer?
There is. I was so busy before this call that I actually don't even know. So I'm going to give you a link and I will make it live, but I don't know if it's like live right this second if you're listening to it. So hlprotools.com, let's say / bot. Now that I can almost guarantee that's not live right now. As soon as we can hop off of this, I will go and make that live so you can buy that. But because I don't even remember what the actual link is.
Okay, I just threw it into the Facebook comments here.
Aaron's gonna link 404 pages all over the place. Yeah, no.
Christine asked, I'm confused. What is 497 exactly?
That's great. Here, I'll pull up. I'm actually just gonna go and find it. That's why I stopped sharing my screen so I could make that thing really.
And while you're finding that, Carlos asks, how do you let the user know they are talking to a bot? I guess the idea is you don't, right?
We don't. Yeah. If you want to, you could make that the first response. Like you could make it say, hey, this is a bot. Is tomorrow, like what day's best for you? So I'll tell you, people like people, right? It's like we like robots, but we really don't like robots. We disrespect robots all the time. Like I feel no like human consideration to not just ghost a robot. They're like, you know, in the same way, like you really don't feel any much consideration of like ghosting a business. That's why like our conversational flows, like it works best if it's communicated like I am a human being who works at a business. And that's the funny thing. Like when we do this and script it in this way, you get people who are like, you know what? I've changed my mind. I'm not interested. And we're like, totally fine. You only get that kind of a response when you write it in a way that's human. If it sounds like, hey, this is, you know, John's tailor shop or whatever, they're like, I don't need to respond to a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, getting into the psychology of it. Okay, cool. So you're gonna screen share and show us the page that you're building that's not yet ready, but will be ready in a couple of minutes once we finish this.
Yeah. No, so oh, that's funny. I gotta change the URL. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Carlos said, well, in California, it's now a law to let them know that it's a bot. Huh.
That's good to know, Carlos. So from compliance standpoint, we will definitely check that out. Yeah, it's interesting. So, and that's California for California users. This is why I am in California. So like I should know all of this stuff, and we pay for counsel and then don't tell them what we're doing, except when it comes to like taxes and, you know, big business decisions. Okay. So
California is really cracking down on protecting their citizens from text messages, all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, no, they really are. Okay, so there's a couple things going on here because
and then somebody else said, so it is in Europe. I guess that's the same, which is not surprising with GDRP and all that. Zach asked a question, why not just connect Dialogflow directly with Twilio?
You totally can. You absolutely can. So we do it because we leverage other things in HighLevel. And so that was like the one piece that maybe I didn't fully like show you how we're doing this, is because now we have like all of the versatility of HighLevel, which is insights for like our clients, and then the ability to still like run simultaneous campaigns, and to interrupt, turn off, have it consider statuses that are all managed in HighLevel.
So if you're connecting it straight into Twilio, it's just injecting straight into the conversation stream.
Yeah, it's not considering what we make it consider, right? And so, and so I would say in the same way. I mean, you hypothetically, it would be like redundant to go a roundabout way, but the way that we like stop based on a confidence interval, you can't do that if you're just straight into Twilio. I mean, not as accessibly. You could program whatever you want in there. Good, you know.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I think it's live. Let me see if it actually loads. But the issue is, I think I had a coupon code, so I got to give you a coupon code to make this actually work.
Okay, yeah, I see the page. It looks like hlprotools.com/bot is up.
But let me give you a coupon code. Otherwise, you can pay us $2,000, which I'm actually totally fine with. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, that's nice. That's intuitive. So, I'm telling y'all, we run the agency, and like this was our priority was not selling stuff. But it'll be good. I know it's good. I just haven't even like tested through how to buy it. So
How long have you been running this with your clients?
We were running this for like 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So let me hop out of here. This is comical.
That's a lot of conversations.
It is a lot of conversations. Yeah. So.
Oh, here's an interesting question. What was the biggest whoops you discovered along the way?
That's a good one. It's probably it's starting with that intent. So like we did try and use it for more things, and it was like you can get, well, one, not using a confidence interval, right? Because you can geek out in this, and you can be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I'm building all the things, and now like I don't need any campaigns. All I do is this, and it will just, do everything for me ever. And you can get some like, it's learning. It goes through a learning phase, and and so we've had like, I would say it's like a big whoops, but it's like, unnecessary kind of like, it's not unnecessary. It's just like like normal faux pas. I'm sure everybody who's ever run a trigger has like started off, and it's like the person who says, it's the response of, yeah, I don't think I can come in. My grandpa died this week and I got to go to a funeral on Saturday. And then the bot's like, hey, great. So what day's good for you? And those scenarios where you're like, stupid robot.
For Saturday, I've got 2 p.m. on Saturday. Does that work?
No, exactly. That's exactly right. So it's like, is there a time that works? Like, what time works best for you? And they're like, it's just, so we've had stuff like that happen, and you learn and you refine, and it gets better. And so that's why bringing it at the right time is important.
Gotcha. All right, cool, Matt. Well, I don't want to keep you on here forever. You haven't had a chance to set up that coupon code so we can let them know what it is, or do you want to drop it in the comments of the stream?
Yeah. So what I did, let me make sure I did this right, is I think I just turned it off and let it go straight away. I was going to show you something cool we do, which is fine. You can just see it and experience it for yourself. But so we run coupons in HighLevel too. So if you want to do that, that's part of HL Pro Tools. But now I just disabled it, and so let it go. So it's there, it's rocking. It's good for the next 48 hours. So we are going to like up the price to $9.97 because honestly, the value's there. Like, and the fact that like I'm saying it's life. So we're going to continue supporting that for life. I'm hoping you would love the no-brainer offer of 0 hours of customer support and HighLevel every week, but there is no obligation. And come in, build your bots. The one thing I will say is, as we're doing this, is if you buy this right, if you're sitting here and you buy this right now, there's a chance that like this was such an afterthought for us of like actually selling it. I don't even know if it's connected and it's going to like add you into the right membership area. So if you want to take a beat and give me like an hour after this, so I can like check stuff like that, so that when you buy it, you get the stuff. If you buy it, you're aggressive, you're like happy to go, like we'll take care of you. But we geek out on the tech sales sometimes, especially when like this world of helping agency owners is a little bit of back of the mind. So.
Totally understandable. One question I forgot to ask you: does creating a Dialogflow account have a cost to it?
No. So
Google gives it to you for free?
Google, you can get it for free. There's thresholds of usage. And so we go through, and I'm telling you, like, I have to help you like go through the technical piece of getting it all configured. And so that's why that's part of it, is you get to learn. Like, that's why I'm just teaching you some of those technical pieces. You're going to learn at least like watch and repeat for super technical things inside of Google and their, cloud services. So there can be like marginal costs at like certain thresholds. So for like a lot of Google services, there's a threshold, which then you cross that and you're going into like, pennies of usage and whatever that is. But yeah. And I'm sure that's going to be the same even when it when you guys use it? Well, right now, I mean, I don't know how you guys are doing it. You're probably carrying the cost and holding it off from us. So
I have no idea, but
yeah.
we'll find out soon, I think. All right, Matt, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for sharing all your secrets with us. Hopefully you'll get some nice sales out of this, and hopefully everybody else learned a lot of stuff like I did. I think this is really, really cool and exciting stuff. And it's crazy that you've been doing this for 8 months already, and now is the first time that it's coming to light. So
I didn't want to share this secret, but I'm happy for everyone.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Jason.
Have a good one. Bye.